you're new here, my name is Ejiro, and if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. My eyes are going everywhere, but I'm a bit shy because I thought I was going to be consistent, and here I am being inconsistent. But if you watch my previous video, you know that I moved to Adelaide, or like the Nigerians will call it Adelaide. I moved here, and it's been a bittersweet moment for me. Majorly because, of course, I had to leave, a lot of my friends, and I will call them family, to be honest, because I came to Australia on my own. So technically, the friends that I made in Sydney, I will qualify them as my family. And I had to leave Sydney and move to Adelaide with my husband, and it's been a minute. It's been a minute. Before I go on, if you haven't subscribed, please click on the subscribe button. Also click on the notification bell so you can get notified when I post a new video. And like this video if it was helpful, if you found it helpful, send it to a friend, for no reason. Even if they don't need it, send it to them, share it to somebody on your socials. Someone help me build my engagement. So now that that is out of the way, I'll just say that moving from Sydney to Adelaide has been a big difference. See, I don't know if I'm pronouncing the Adelaide well, but you shall get what I'm saying. But moving here has been huge. If I would say so myself, and I'm saying that because there is, I don't want to say culture shock, because I don't think I have done a video of culture shock in Sydney or when I just moved from Nigeria to Sydney, but I don't think I've gotten as much shock as I got in Adelaide. I'm just gonna tell you the truth. It's crazy over here, man. Like, I'm not saying crazy in a bad way. Don't get it twisted, because I know a lot of people that are currently in Adelaide watch this and think that, oh, she's trying to badmouth Adelaide. No, it's a really nice place to live. But as the title says, it says Adelaide or Sydney. Where? And initially, I thought that this video was going to go in such a way that I was going to kind of differentiate and give you pros and cons about each place. But I'm just going to be chaotic and just do it anyhow I want to do it, to be honest, as it comes to my head, because setting up for this video took most of my energy away, to be honest. So I'm just going to go with the flow, and I'm just going to give it to you the way it's coming to my head. One of the major things that I found out in Adelaide was that the shops close by 5 p.m. on the weekends. Come closer. It closes by 5 p.m. on the weekends. This is not like, I don't even know I don't know which stores to use to explain. But if you go to Aldi or Wool's, I want to say Woolies, but I should pronounce the full name just in case people don't know it. Woolworths or Coles by 5:15 on a Saturday, it's gonna be closed. Yep, it's gonna be closed. It hit me by shock, because my first weekend here, I was telling my husband, because I was like, oh, I want to cook, but I will go to the stores later. And he's like, which later? I said, by, I don't know, 6, 7. Like, I'm not in the mood now. I'll just go maybe 6 o'clock max. He's like, hey, Ejiro, the shop's closed by 5. I'm like, no, that's not possible. And lo and behold, I went to the stores and it was closed. I couldn't fathom how a store will close by 5 p.m. Come on, like 5 p.m. That's when I'm getting the ginger to actually go out and buy things. Meanwhile, in Sydney, the shops close by 10 p.m. 10 p.m. for, say, maybe stores like Woolies, Coles, Kmart, Big W. They close by 10 p.m. on every other day, to be honest. Except they're in the mall. Even in the mall, the Kmart in most malls will close by 10 p.m. The Coles in most malls and Woolies in most malls will close by 10 p.m. Except maybe Aldi, because Aldi closes by 8 p.m. either ways, everywhere, as I thought. Okay, they close by 8 p.m. here, but during the weekdays. So during the weekdays, the stores here close by 9 p.m. in regards to 10 p.m. like Sydney. They stay longer on Thursdays. I don't know if it's everywhere in Australia, but even in Adelaide they do that, where stores that normally close by 6 p.m. in the malls would close by 9 p.m. So they do that here, but every other day the stores will close by 5 p.m. if they're in the mall, and they're going to close by 9 p.m. if they're not in the mall. So yeah, it's annoying. I think I've confused myself. But the weekends and the weekdays, it's just the timing is annoying. So weekdays, they will close by 5 p.m. if the shop is in the mall, and they will close by 9 p.m. if the shop is not outside the mall. Whereas in Sydney, if the shop is in the mall, except Thursdays, they close by 6 p.m. And if the shop is not in the mall, it closes by 10 p.m. Depending, there are some stores that even stay open till 12 midnight. You know, you could still go to some Coles in, I think, Penrith regions. They have a Coles that closes by 12, and I'm pretty sure in some parts of the Sydney CBD they would have some stores that are 24 hours, to be honest. But I think for me that was the largest part. And then the market here is different in the sense of finding a job. Guys, I think that finding a job video should be another video for me. This is me coming from Sydney, whereby everything is pretty much fast paced. I say that because I know I've worked in the Sydney sector before, and I know that everything is pretty much fast paced. You know, the employers want to get things done pretty fast. Employees also want to get things done pretty fast. You know, you're moving at a type of moment. Excuse my analogy. But here in Adelaide, they drag things. Oh my Jesus. Is employment or recruitment, will I say technique or process? Let me say recruitment process. That's supposedly supposed to take 1 week. So maybe your interview, feedback. If you have another interview, typically recruitment process will have, you know, 2 or 3 interviews. You know, the first informal, then, you know, formal levels, and maybe your team leader, supervisor, manager, whoever is going to be in charge of you, the hiring manager. You know, 3 stages. And in Sydney, that would take, let me not even exaggerate, let me say 2 weeks tops. But here, you would have recruitment agents or professionals telling you that, oh, we're a bit swamped, so you're not really going to get any response within the next, you know, 1 or 2 weeks. So don't be scared that we haven't gotten to you. We'll get to you. In my mind, I'm like, why is it taking you 2 weeks? What's happening? People have to earn money. Like, why so long? It's very slow. I would say Adelaide is a very slow town. If you're coming from Sydney, you will feel it. You will really feel it. You feel that the town is too slow. It would frustrate you because you want things to go, you know, really fast. But at some point, you will actually get used to it. I don't want to say I'm used to it because I would tell me that's laziness, but you have no choice than to work with the pace that they work in. So technically, you would get used to it. Yeah. Another thing is the market is different in the term of remuneration. So now your salary package is going to be different. Yep, you heard me right. And it's not that it's going to be different in this. It's not going to be different like say 1,000, 2,000. It's going to be significantly different. It's going to be at least minimum of $5,000 different. It's going to be $10,000 different. It's going to be 15K different. I know this because I work in the HR field in Australia, and I was working in HR in Sydney and moved to Adelaide to, you know, continue my HR profession. And every recruiter basically told me that every time I told them, oh, I'm coming from Sydney, the first thing they would announce to me is, oh, you know that the market here is different, right? So I think that was one thing I had to cope with because I felt like, oh, I was being undervalued. I know what I bring to the table. I know what skills that I possess, and I felt like I wasn't being paid enough for that. And a lot of people turn it to my second point or my 4th or 3rd or 5th. I don't know what number I am now. I'm probably going to put it down below. But, you know, a lot of people turn it to, oh, it's cheaper to live in Adelaide. It's the cost of living here is better. Not really. Not exactly. Because they will say, oh, the money you will pay in transportation or whatever in Sydney, you know, you save that here in Adelaide, and, you know, blah blah blah. It's a lie. It's a lie. I can say that that's not right because there was, before moving here, people told me that, oh, the cost of living here is cheaper, accommodation here is cheaper. Maybe it looks cheaper when you are trying to apply. Don't get me started with how hard it is to get an accommodation in Adelaide, but it's crazy. You will see a house for 350 for maybe like a 2-bedroom, luckily with 3 bedrooms, and you'll be so excited. But then the amount of people bidding for that particular property will increase the market value from 350 up to 450, 500. People are coming ridiculous amounts. So technically the houses are not priced as expensive, but then the market will increase the price on its behalf. So the landlord ends up going for the higher bid basically. My husband calls it a bidding war, but that's just it. So if you're moving here and you're thinking, okay, the cost of living here is cheaper, you might be lucky and you might find maybe a cheap accommodation and get paid, and that is that. But I stayed for my accommodation in this house for 2 months. 2 months, and then it wasn't even the house that we really liked the most, but thankfully it's a really good house. If you want to see a home tour, let me know. I would pull something out for you guys. It's an empty house tour, by the way. It's not going to be what it looks like now or anything. It's going to be the empty space of when we first bought the house. So let me know if you want to see that, because I actually have a video on that. But before we eventually got this house, we got houses that we were offered $600, and this is $600 per week, not per month. It's $600 per week, and to be honest, you're just moving to a new town. We wanted a house. So in my mind, I'm like, nah, I'm not going to pay $600 per week when the $600 doesn't cover lights, gas, electricity, internet, and other basic amenities that we will need in the house. Like, it's going to be empty. We'll still have to buy furniture, we'll still have to buy appliances. So paying $600 is just a large stretch from what we could afford, or like what budget we're looking at. So when people come with the sense of moving here is cost effective, I'm really trying to find out in which other way. Maybe food, but to be honest, the food price is slightly the same thing, if not more expensive with some items in Adelaide. It's just the same thing. It's just that the only difference in Adelaide is that the town is very suburban, so it's very I'm looking for a really good word to use to describe it. It's a good environment to raise kids in. It's a good environment to raise kids in. So it's like most neighborhoods seem alright. My neighborhood is okay, but I heard they still have their bad parts. Every state has its own areas that you probably don't want to live in. But yeah, it's very quiet most of the time. It's not as fast-paced as Sydney. I referenced it in job application and stuff, but fast-paced in the sense that there's no honk anywhere. You're not hearing a lot of honk. Every apartment that I have stayed in Sydney has been loud. Okay, I think except my first apartment when I first moved to Australia. The first one I actually paid for anyways. That didn't really have like loud noise, but like every other apartment that I've stayed has had its fair share of either train sounds or like road close to the express. Just something sharp. But here I don't think I hear any noise at all. The only noise I would probably hear, and surprisingly recording this video I haven't heard any of it, is this small helicopter airport close to my house, and sometimes you kind of just hear the aircrafts kind of fly, and because helicopters are small now, so I hear the noise over my house a couple of times, but like as you can see, you've not heard it in this video, so it's not as consistent. Another thing I would say is a positive aspect in Adelaide will just be generally PR. Getting PR here is, I don't want to say easier, but Adelaide is in South Australia. For people that don't know where it is, South Australia is big. Adelaide just seems to be like the city, let me just say capital. If I'm wrong, I'll write what the capital is, but Adelaide is just the main business side, but Adelaide is regional too. So technically, you can stay in any part of South Australia and be in a regional area. They also have outer regional areas where, of course, the PR stage for those areas are more favorable, and people don't want to move there because they're like, oh, if the whole area is regional, why move to the outer remote side? I might as well just stay in Adelaide and still get my papers. But at the moment they have really favorable migration laws, and hence why a lot of people are moving all the way here. So like that's one of the good things about Adelaide, being that you can live anywhere you want, compared to the fact that in Sydney, my location was not exactly strategic for my PR chances. And another thing is Sydney is super competitive. Oh my lord. It's competitive in the sense of PR. It's super competitive. The points that you would need in Sydney, say for some occupations you probably need like 105. Some people have, some people cannot make 105. They can't get that point. But you come to Adelaide and you probably only need 75 points. People just don't want to move here because city is the business or so they want to stay in Sydney. But to be honest, stay here, get your papers and move back. Nobody will even say anything to you. I just do you. Lastly, I think one of the major changes for me would be transportation. This doesn't technically affect me because I drive and I do not, I do not exactly take the buses here. But this is not based on my experience. This is based on others, their experiences, friends that I have had, and people that have kind of told me about how the transport system here works. And it's not for the friendly. So I would suggest that if you're moving to Adelaide, get a car. If you already drive in Sydney, the bus system is not friendly. They are not as effective as Sydney. Sydney, every suburb has a train station. It's not the same thing here. So there's a lot of waiting for the bus, and I do not see a lot of buses. You go to the city and the city does not even have like a lot of bus stops. Not saying that Sydney City has a lot of bus stops, but at least it has a truckload of train stations. There are trams to move around and things like that. But here it's pretty much limited. I think that's one thing that they are lacking, and one thing a lot of people complain about. But I feel like if you get into the system, you get a hang of it. So this is from one non-transportation taker to another potential transport taker. I'm spilling rubbish, but if you made it to the end of this video, thank you for staying. I know it's a pretty long one. I'm so sorry. So thank you so much. Do not forget to like, do not forget to subscribe, do not forget to click on the notification bell to get notified when I post a new video. Thank you so much for coming. Bye. See you in my next one.